Today we are on to page 21 in your sketchbook, and you will notice as I get set up, we will be doing the shape oval. One of the best lifelike objects I can think of to start with oval are bunches of grapes because they are made up of ovals. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take in your sketchbook page 21, and I would like you to turn your sketchbook today in this direction. I want you to draw a gigantic bunch of grapes. And to start that, we want to draw ovals, definitely not perfect ovals. You notice as the grapes that I have sitting here, every single oval is not identical in the group. Well, how do you begin starting this? My suggestion is we are going to draw the grapes laying on a counter. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to lightly sketch in a counter line, lightly. Now you can see mine pretty dark, but again, very lightly sketch that in. Now what we're going to do is the first thing is we're going to draw ovals, and what I think probably the easiest way to start is what not to do. Nobody likes to go to the store and pick out a bunch of grapes that are this big. You know, these are smaller than raisins. So I'd like you to do a really luscious bunch of grapes, a bunch of grapes that you would truly pick out if you were at the store. Probably the easiest way to start with this is lay your ovals on the side. And you may even want to do kind of I would call it just kind of a sweeping line. And again, this line will be swallowed up, so don't worry too terribly much about it. But this just kind of keeps you on track, is a sweeping line. And what we're going to do is I'm going to start with grapes, and they're going to be nice big ovals. Nice big ovals. And what I'm going to do is I want to overlap them, and I'm going to talk about positive and negative space in order to create depth in your picture. And we need to overlap the grapes. You'll also notice that oftentimes the bunch will come down to one or two grapes and build from there. Again, draw right over that sweeping line. That's just a guideline for me in drawing my, woo, there went a nice big grape. And these are our oval shapes. I might decide that I want to put one up there. I've kind of got a stair-step effect going. Fewer and less here as they build up into the bunch up here, but do notice how large the ovals are. And just a really, really quick reminder is, this is what not to do. These are far too small. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to say too small. Think about if you were to go to the grocery store and buy a bunch of grapes. You want nice big ones. I'm just gonna... Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase my guideline out of here. And I wouldn't necessarily have to erase it out because I'm going to be shading, and I'm going to be shading every single grape independently. Keep your counter line in here, which is this line and this line. Now you already know how I like to use my eraser shavings when I am shading, so I'm going to find it helpful just to put some shavings, leave my shavings there. And when we overlap our ovals, we create some contrast. And how we're going to capture that contrast, the contrast is black and white right together. And to capture that contrast, what I'd like you to do is take your pencil and every little space that you see in between your ovals, and they're going to be little triangles, little diamond sort of shapes, kind of hourglass sort of shapes. And where those little overlaps are naturally leave a little space, add contrast. And it might not be between every single grape. And this came from your overlapping of your ovals. This is how we create depth. This is how we get grapes that look closer to us and grapes that are further from us and grapes that are piled and bunched together. So this is a way to give the 3D effect, and that's by overlapping and overlaying your ovals. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your pencil into rendering fashion, and you're going to determine where the light is. So I'm just going to put my light here, and it's going to come this direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm thinking about each individual grape, and I am just going to render some little lead in a oval or circular sort of fashion. And wherever I think the light's going to hit, I'm not going to render lead. I'm going to leave that open. And so in every individual grape, you may have seen a little area that maybe you forgot to put the contrast. Put that in. Again, keep in mind where the light is touching on the grape. And leave that light. And now with your blender stick, with your dirty blender stick actually, start anywhere. And with those shavings, don't press quite as hard where the light is on the grape. And in each oval, in a curved motion, in a oval manner, in a circular manner, that's the way you're going to give the best illusion. is to shade with your object and shade each grape individually. And you might decide, you know what, instead of your blender stick, try it with a piece of paper towel. But do go individually to each grape. I think it's a bit easier to control with your blender stick because it's a small area. And you might notice some grapes that they look very, that there's a sharp line of your white. Go touch a little bit of lead there. But the overall appearance will look more like oval grape light, like if you shade each grape individually as opposed to taking your paper towel and shading like this. That will not give it a very good appearance. You might see while you're doing this that you missed a contrast spot, of which I see that I missed. I missed this little contrast right here. There's a little shape in there. It doesn't mean that you have to outline your grapes, your ovals with your pencil. You don't need to do that. But instead, you're going to give the illusion of separate grapes based on your blending them each individually. Okay, so we are very close to having our oval shape done. So our next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put actually a stem in. So a stem to a grape is a cylinder sort of shape. So I'm going to pick an area in here. I'm going to pick in here, and I'm simply going to come out like this, noticing that it's a stem is not thick, but it's actually a pretty thin, comes off the vine. Tuck in there. And then I'm going to do some grape leaves. So I think probably the easiest way, because leaves indicate different flowers, different trees. So in doing the grape, in doing one leaf, my suggestion would be to come 1, 2, 3. This one, the middle one being a bit longer, like that. And I'm going to tuck another one back here. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. And these are the vines. Again, I don't like them to be perfect. That's not real. But the leaf that goes on the vine is like a diamond shape. So it comes here and goes in, comes there and goes in. It's kind of a kite-like diamond shape. So it's going to go here and go in, go here and go in. Got to do 3 of them on here. So it's going to go like a kite or a diamond like this. Now, it may look a bit confusing here. In fact, I'm going to enlarge it so you can see what I'm doing. And the first thing I want to get out is my counter line, because the leaf overrides the counter. So notice the counter is here and here. The leaf vein comes in and it has like a kite shape, an odd kite shape. You might look at this more as a diagonal sort of shape. That makes one leaf. Now, be wispy with the vines. Be wispy. So I've got one leaf in. Now I'm going to take my blender, move some of that lead around, and shade it in. If I were to leave it white, it would appear flat. I may even extend my leaf here a little bit. Now I'm going to put, as you often see in a grape, is you see these little twirlies. Again, any little detail you can add, the more it will help your drawing. These are little vine things. I'm going to add a leaf here, but my leaf here, again, it goes like a diamond or a kite. This leaf is tucked behind. And this leaf is going to be tucked behind. Notice, for it to look sort of real, you want to be kind of whimsical with it, not perfect. Take my blender stick, Now my last is to add my shading on my counter. So again, contrast, adding some dark near the light is going to give it the illusion of 3D, going to create depth. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lay some Again, I might take my pencil point slightly. I'm going to take my blender stick, and my blender stick is just to help melt the lead, soften the lead up a little bit, make it look a bit less scratchy. And then also add a little touch of paper towel. And if you lose your contrast here, which you don't want to lose your contrast, you might have to slightly go in and draw with your eraser. So that completes our oval shape, and I think this one turned out a little bit better. But there again, it is creating contrast by shading in the dark blacks, the dark areas. It's called positive space and negative space. The black is the negative space. And you create depth. You create 3D by overlapping and layering.